I'm joined now in the Around the Region studios by author Deb Elkink. Thank you very much for being here.
Why, thanks, Kahla. It's great to be here.
We're glad to have you. So tell me about yourself. How did you start writing and how did you get into this?
Oh, I've been wanting to write since as early as I can remember. I think I was about 9 when I wrote my first official piece. That was a poem that I plagiarized somehow and turned around no, actually, I wrote a poem and that was published in a school book, and then just started writing short stories mostly through school. And when I went to university, decided I absolutely had to take communications because I wanted to fulfill my my desire to be a novelist.
And when did you start writing? Because your debut novel, The Third Grace, how long ago did you put this out?
It came out in December of this past year, so just a few months ago.
And how long did it take you to write this, and how did you kind of get the idea that this is the direction you wanted to go in?
Well, I started this novel, it was sort of born in my mind when I went to the Louvre in France, in Paris, the first time. And I discovered a statue grouping by a carver, a sculptor named James Pradier, and he had made this lovely statue grouping, marble grouping of the three graces, which are characters, they're goddesses from Greek mythology. And I fell in love with them. I thought, that would be a beautiful icon for a book. And I started it, I worked on it. That was back in 1989 when I first got the idea.
Oh, wow.
So I started it. I wrote something that ended up horrible. I put it away. I got busy with the rest of my life for quite a while. I was quite a busy mom. And then I picked it up again and submitted it to an agent, and he accepted it about 3 years ago. And he worked on having it published and we did some work on writing it and so on.
And how would you describe the novel in your own words?
Well, if somebody were to come up to me on the street and say, "What's your novel about?" I talk a lot, so it's really hard to condense it. So I would say a costume designer overwhelmed by memories of the summer she was 17 when she fell in love with a French exchange student visiting her parents' farm, is now on her way to Paris. And she is challenged with a silly chore by her mother, and she's being manipulated by her mentor at the same time. And so these three points of mother, mentor, and memories conspire to send her on a search for herself through the streets of Paris.
It's very different than anything I even thought it was going to be. And one thing that really stood out for me was the characters seem unbelievably real. The main character, Mary Grace, she seems like a real woman. Like she could have been you at that age. And her parents, being the Mennonite farmers, are just like people I knew from my hometown. So how did you kind of come up with the characters and make them as real as they are?
Oh, well, first of all, thanks a lot. That's something that every writer of fiction wants to hear, that their characters are real. Well, Mary Grace, who actually has an alternate identity, and her name is that she goes by is Aglaia, which is the name of one of the three graces. She is probably a compendium of bits of me, bits of the culture that I'm somewhat familiar with, the Mennonite background that I'm somewhat familiar with, and a lot of imagination. And I think I like her, but I like some of the things about her that are different than me and some of the things that are like me. But I think part of me is in every one of the characters.
And the book was recently nominated for an award. Can you tell me about that?
Yes, I just found out that I've been shortlisted as a finalist for the Word Guild Christian Writing Awards, and so it's an award that I guess there are 35 categories, and they had 360 entries. So it's wonderful to be shortlisted for one of the prizes in the contemporary novel segment. Anybody that writes, I think, looks forward to hearing the reader response. A writer really wants to connect, wants to either make herself understood or be understood. And so it's a divine experience to have a response or a review from a reader that says, "Oh, I get it." It's lovely.
And what's coming up next for you?
Well, I'm just working on a second novel, Working title doesn't matter because it'll be something different. And I'm having a lot of fun with that. I've got the plot figured out and I've done a bit of the drafting, and I'm really hoping to get a major amount done in the next few months, actually, before the fall.
Well, I want to wish you all the best of luck with that, and thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you so much, Kahla. It was fun.
It was a pleasure. And you're going to want to stay with us because after the break, I get to experience the Second Chance Trail Ride.